Welcome, everybody, to another Friday night edition of TGIF. Thank God this guy is fragile. What is going on? I am George. I am your host. I am in a very festive mood. It is not Christmas Eve. It is actually the eve to Christmas Eve. I spent most of my day running around doing a whole bunch of Christmas shopping because, much like the procrastinator I am, I didn't start until about Tuesday. So kind of left myself a very short calendar window here to actually complete my shopping. But I got most of it done. I'll finish everything up tomorrow on Christmas Eve just to continue the tradition. With me, as always, is my brother Justin. Justin, A, how are you doing? B, have you completed all your Christmas shopping?
I'm doing great. I was slightly concerned during the intro that this was going to be an offbeat show because I didn't get the typical little dancing that I get from you while the music is playing. There we go. But you came out firing with the intro, so I know you're ready to roll. So it's going to be a good show. But now, B, on the Christmas shopping, I have no idea. My wife is like the ultimate Santa's helper, and she handles all of that sort of stuff. And for those of you that are trying to do some last minute shopping, and hopefully there's some overnight shipping, or even if you just want to buy yourself something nice after Christmas with that Christmas money that grandma gives you, we do have our Amazon affiliate up and going on the website. So please make sure you click on that toiletstotitles.com, then click on the affiliate tab. It looks just like an ad, just like you see on most websites, except ours looks pretty awesome because we've got the greatest web designer on the planet, the great Andrew Campy, that has designed that for us. So go in there, click on the Amazon link, and do all your purchasing there. And you will, as long as you go through Toilets and Titles first, you'll be helping out the show. So we greatly appreciate you this holiday season.
So I'm not going to go with the greatest web designer on the planet, because I feel like, there's some really great web designers on this planet that we would be completely underselling. But he is by far and away the best web designer down under. That, hands down, he's got the whole continent. And we'll even throw in England because they're one of the same, to be honest. So,
and New Zealand, may as well drop in New Zealand there. Bobby Trees, what's happening? Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays, Bobby Trees. So I want to say thank you to everybody that is actually able to join us tonight, being that it is probably, honestly, one of the largest Christmas shopping days of the year for most people, especially if you're a male, because we all tend to procrastinate. For the majority, there are very few exceptions. We tend to procrastinate. We'll get the stuff done last minute, or we do what Justin and I do and lean heavily on Santa's helpers, aka our wives, to make sure we get everything done. Yes, Australia is the Florida of England. The only problem with that is we don't have an Australia man. We have a Florida man, but we have no Australia man. Steve Irwin was the Australian man, but he died. So
I don't know if Australian man is anything like Florida man, then I think we got a few of them right here on the team.
Hey, do not be besmirching Matt like that. I will not tolerate.
Ben and Andrew are fair game.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
All right. Let's get the show back on track here. We've done derailed a little bit here. So as Justin was saying, toiletstitles.com. Check out our affiliates on there. We have Amazon. We have Fanatics. It's still not too late to get on there. And
several more coming down the pike, maybe even within the next week or two.
Cannot wait. Exciting stuff. Big things happening here at Toilets to Titles. Big things popping, little things stopping. Hit the like and subscribe button on our YouTube. Helps the algorithm. Hit the share button as well if you're watching this live. That helps our algorithms as well. I can't even speak tonight. I'm so excited about this show. Throw us a review on all of our Apple Podcasts and iTunes. We really do appreciate those reviews. Justin and Coach will be reading a review every Tuesday night on the Toilets to Titles podcast. I wish it had a name, but we're just going with Toilets to Titles podcast.
Because it's called Toilets to Titles. Let's move on, George.
while you're on toiletstitles.com, visit the Patreon. Our Patreon links there, or you can go to patreon.com/toiletstitles. We have 6 different levels. I'm not going to get into what each one gets you at this moment, but I will read out the prices for you real quick. There's the $3, the $5, the $7.50. My personal second favorite is the $10 entry that gets you entry into the Frankenstank. That's a $25 cost. So if you sign up for the $10 entry, you are automatically entered into the Frankenstank next year. It is an amazing league. It's the most challenging league you will ever be in. It's the most crazy. And the thing I love about it most, it is 100% strategy based. You have to be thinking 2, 3, 4 steps ahead. It's like playing chess, not checkers, folks. We have the $20 league or the $20 Patreon. And then my favorite is, of course, the $1 million. That's the one that goes directly to myself and Joe Knows, because we are the only 2 that apparently on the whole team that knows this $1 million Patreon level actually even exists, because we're the only 2 who ever promote it. So those are the Patreons, and let's jump into the show.
Well, real quick,
Yep.
Bobby Trees. It's a good thing you're asking now, because the guys are not going to be able to do a Blitz episode this weekend, considering the fact that almost all the games are being played on Christmas Eve. Just isn't right to do a show on Christmas Eve. So I'm going for Daniel Jones here. I have Daniel Jones in a bit of a dilemma myself between him and Brock Purdy against Washington. And with Chase Young coming back, I feel like plus, I don't know. I kind of feel like that floor right there for Daniel Jones against Minnesota indoors on this cold Christmas Eve. You're not going to get better weather for a quarterback. So I'm not really sure where Justin Fields is playing at, but if it's at Buffalo or what's that?
I believe it's in Chicago.
Okay, so either way, it's still going to be fall freezing. Not that matters a whole heck of a lot for Fields, but if there's inclement weather on top of that, it could be an issue. So regardless, though, that Bills defense, I think, is much more tight than the Vikings defense, and especially even playing in a dome. I'm going to go with Daniel Jones here. What do you think?
So I actually would go with Justin Fields, just because he's got 60 yards and a touchdown in 7 straight games now. His rushing floor, yeah, his rushing floor, like Daniel Jones is a running quarterback too, don't get me wrong, but he's not Justin Fields. There's no way you could hit Justin Fields. You look at what the rushing defense did against the Miami Dolphins at home in Buffalo. Miami ran all over them. Raheem Mostert was out there looking like Jim Brown. That's how bad that Buffalo run defense is. Start Justin Fields confidently against the Bills. Don't get caught up and because it's the Bills. They don't have Von Miller. They're banged up on defense. Start Justin Fields. Start him confidently. He's going to carry you again this week.
Well, I tell you what, Bobby, he sounds a lot more confident in his Justin Fields pick than I did my Daniel Jones pick. So I think I should go a long way right there. I still think you're wrong, but you're way more confident.
So I do know Jason was scared to do a Daniel Jones versus Sam Darnold bet. I was trying to coax him into doing a soy sauce bet because he thought Sam Darnold would perform better than Daniel Jones, which is ridiculous. I could go out and probably perform better than Sam Darnold. But yeah, Justin Fields over Daniel Jones, that's easy. Justin Fields is going to be a top 5 quarterback this week.
Hey, one last thing before we get rolling. Just because we're so close to pushing it here, the Cowboys and Eagles game is tomorrow. Guys, we have squares that we're trying to sell for. It's just like Super Bowl squares, except with a little bit of a twist. We're doing it for the Cowboys-Eagles game. It's $10 an entry, but there's a $50 payout every time a team scores. We are desperately trying to fill out the last 20 or so squares. Because if we don't get them all filled out, then we got to give everybody their money back and not have it. So that would be a bummer and a whole lot of work on Coach. Let's try to make a push and try to get these last 20 squares sold.
I'm glad to hear that's only 20 because last I heard there was 39 left, and that was this afternoon. So to hear that we cut that number in half is absolutely awesome.
Yeah, and if we can get it down to about 10 or so, maybe we can just talk Coach into buying the rest.
He's rich.
All right, let's go ahead and get into the injuries, and then Bobby, I see your comment there. We'll get back into that in just a moment, and we'll probably talk about it when we get to the AJ Dillon injury.
Yeah. So our first name up is Austin Eckler. He popped up on the injury list this week, again with a shoulder injury. Eckler hurt his shoulder, which led to reduced workloads temporarily in Week 15. As a result, Josh Kelly saw 10 carries. Eckler has commented for a couple of weeks now about his shoulder bothering him on various podcast platforms. In the video, the mechanism implies a labrum issue, which is similar to Jalen Waddle's earlier this season. Regardless, he's a must start, but the advice is to handcuff him with Josh Kelly. Listen, at this point, I get wanting to handcuff Austin Eckler with Josh Kelly. Odds are, A, Josh Kelly's already owned. B, if Austin Eckler goes out and gets hurt in the first quarter, we're talking playoffs right now. You don't have any, cupcake matches. Everybody, this is the semifinals in most playoffs. In some leagues, this is the finals because they just never converted over to a 17-week season. So you're talking either the semifinals or the finals at this point. If Austin Eckler goes down, honestly, you might not even have a chance to pick up Josh Kelly. And if you do, it's probably not going to matter because if he goes down early, you're probably going to lose. So I'm not going to say don't handcuff him with Josh Kelly, but it's not something I'm overly concerned with. The couple leagues I have Austin Eckler, he's starting. Don't not BSing it at all. He's absolutely starting. I'm throwing him out there. If he's playing, he's going. Plain and simple. Not riding the bench. No better option. He's the running back one in all of fantasy right now. He's a go.
And honestly, the only place I'm getting Kelly in is if my opponent in the playoffs is desperate at running back right now, just to prevent him from being able to pick him up. That's really it.
Absolutely. The second running back we got popped up on the list is AJ Dillon with a concussion. We've been saying it all year about these concussions. The backers say Dillon cleared concussion protocol. He's likely to play Week 16. However, he'll still be volatile as the protocol could be better science. So, and this is coming from Dr. Edwin Porras, is who I got this information from. Listen, AJ Dillon is coming off the concussion protocol. Honestly, it's great that he's coming off concussion protocol. I'm glad that he's okay and it's nothing major. At this point in the season, from what you've seen from him this far, nobody's playing him anyway, outside of like a super deep 16-team league or more. Like you're not relying on AJ Dillon this week. So,
and Bobby Trees asked if he should drop Cam Akers, Brian Robinson, or AJ Dillon. And don't worry about the million questions, Bobby. If you would, just go ahead and type them in. We will get to the ones that we'll have time for, or the ones that pertain to any players that we might already be talking about. But also, it depends on who you're trying to pick up. It depends on what you're looking like this week and possibly next week in your finals. It depends on what your opponents are looking like this week and possibly next week in the finals. So, I mean, all three of these guys are droppable for the right other players. So it just kind of depends.
Of those three, the order that I would drop them in is the reverse order he has them listed, honestly. I would drop AJ Dillon, Brian Robinson, then Cam Akers. That would be the order in which I would drop any of those players.
Well, it would be Daniel Jones. So I'm guessing that this has to do with the same league as before where it was Daniel Jones or Fields. If that's the case, I'd probably still pick up Daniel Jones, even if you're starting Fields, just to keep your opponent from getting him because it is still a sweet matchup. So if that's the case, yeah, feel free to drop AJ Dillon. Like I said, with the concussion issue, there's a high level of volatility for a re-injury at this point. He's not that far out of the concussion protocol, and you're probably not starting him if these are your options anyway. That means you're already probably starting Cam Akers over him on top of who your actual running backs are. You don't need AJ Dillon, and he's not going to hurt you if he's on somebody else's roster.
No, the only way AJ Dillon carries any value is if for some reason Aaron Jones goes out and gets injured. And we can't predict injuries. I get why you would want to stash him in case that does happen.
Or better yet, Brian Robinson is going up against the 49ers this week. That's a tough run defense. I feel like if I dropped him and my opponent picked him up and started him against me, I'd feel pretty comfortable about it.
We're going to get derailed a little bit, but that's just bad fantasy karma. I don't subscribe to let me drop this guy just because the matchup is tough.
No, no,
Like,
no. I'm saying if I have to drop a guy, I want to drop a guy that I don't feel upset about dropping. Like who knows what might happen later. I feel like it might come back to haunt you if you drop AJ Dillon and say Jones gets hurt. It's not necessarily going to bite you. Yeah, yeah, we are getting derailed, but yeah, I think we've answered the question.
it's all Bobby Tree's fault. Justin, I'll let you go ahead and talk a little bit about Lamar Jackson if you like.
Yep, absolutely. So the most recent update on Lamar Jackson is that the Ravens quarterback Tyler Huntley is starting Saturday versus the Falcons, per head coach John Harbaugh. No Lamar Jackson for a third straight game. So so fire up those Huntleys. I feel like that Falcons defense is a pretty good matchup there. So if you have him on your roster, it's probably because you need quarterback and he has that upside, that running upside. So Tyler Lockett is the next victim on the list here. Tyler Lockett was a victim to a finger injury, actually a broken finger last week. And he has the same finger fracture that is very similar to Chris Godwin's from 2020. Godwin returned after just one game missed, and it looks like we're on a similar timetable here for Tyler Lockett, and only minimal performance impact, meaning once he does get back, it's probably not going to affect his ability as a wide receiver too much with that broken finger. So most likely one game out, and then he'll be back for your fantasy championships next week. Obviously a must start if he does play. The next one, Dallas Goedert, is kind of a big one. Yeah, I see that. I just switched over the screens. I saw the little dance. We are all happy about this one. Anybody that has Dallas Goedert has been waiting on this, but he will make his official return back in Week 16. He's minimal to moderate volatile, but he is definitely still a must start at the tight end position if he's going, and it does look like he's finally going. So you got to start him, even if they come out now and they say that he's going to be 50%. He's only going to be in there for 50% of the plays. Like, you got to start the man. He was tight end 4 when he went down, and he's still tight end 10 right now.
Yeah, I would say he's missed 4 games and he's still a top 10 tight end. You have to start the guy. The dance was because I've been waiting for him to come back. As soon as he went down, I was telling people he's going to be back. I was expecting him to be back last week, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
Excuse me, but every league that he was dropped in, I went in and scooped him up. So I've been personally waiting for him to come back. I've got him going this week in my home league, my big money league. And I'm really hoping I can get a welcome back to the NFL performance from Dallas Goedert, because the guy that I'm playing against last night had Trevor Lawrence and Evan Ingram, and in a full PPR where you get bonus points for over 100 yards receiving. Evan Ingram had a hell of a game.
Yeah.
He had almost a 25 or 26 point game. So it's and that's coming from the tight end position. So I need a welcome back Dallas Goedert game. I understand Gardner Minshew. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. But I know it's Gardner Minshew at the quarterback position, but at least it's somebody with some experience, and hopefully he can check it down and feature that shiny weapon tight end that they've got there in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I could definitely use a 2-touchdown game out of Dallas Goedert for sure. We saw last night Mike White was out, so
yeah. I meant to take this one off the list. Honestly, we could have just put Jets quarterback out and just left it as generic as possible.
Yep. They've got the Tim Tebow lookalike out there for the time being until
that is the tattoo bearded Taysom Hill right there. I'm telling you what.
And I thought Joe Flacco was fairly efficient this year when he was in there and had his time. I don't understand what they're trying to do.
I think they know it's a wasteful season. They know that Joe Flacco is competent and he could probably lead them to a win, and that will do nothing but hurt their draft stock at this point. So they want to see what they have in these younger quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Because the guy was a CFL star in the Canadian Football League. That's where he came from. Don't ask me which team. I don't live in Canada. Maybe we can ask Nate. Maybe he knows. But he was a CFL guy, so they wanted to see what they had in him. And I mean, let's face it, like he looked like Taysom Hill out there is exactly what he was. I don't understand having a guy that is that type of a weapon on your team and giving him a couple of plays a game just to make, something else for the defenses to have to account for. Because the guy can run the ball clearly.
Yeah.
He can throw the ball somewhat. He's not the greatest drop back quarterback, but he can run the ball. He gives you a weapon on offense that is a dimension of the offense they haven't had all year. And I mean, he took it all the way down to the red zone. I mean, they should use that guy a little bit more often, not as a full-time starter, but man, he's a weapon.
Yeah, real quick before we get to the real lead here, the real lead injury, we're going to bury one more question here, but I think I'm probably going to go with Cam Akers on this one. It's half-point PPR, Cam Akers, James Cook, or Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt hasn't been super consistent for me. Cook has been coming on lately, and I do kind of like the matchup. So
I forget who the Bills are playing.
We just mentioned it earlier. It's the Giants.
I think I'm leaning James Cook.
Yeah. I kind of started to talk myself into it after I started reading the names off as well.
I think I'm leaning James Cook. It comes down to Cook and Akers. I'm not trusting Kareem Hunt, even though with the weather there is expected to be really freaking bad. The only position I feel comfortable starting in that game is the running backs, but I'm not going to go Kareem Hunt. I think I'm going James Cook here, but it's really close with Cam Akers.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. All right, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is the big one here. AC joint injury. So the update on this is that the Eagles head coach, Nick Sirianni, said he does not expect quarterback Jalen Hurts to play Saturday versus the Cowboys. Gardner Minshew will be at the helm against the Cowboys. So this is kind of big news for fantasy purposes. I mean, Gardner has proven to be able to come in and throw down his Minshew mania and show that he can he can get a team to rally around him, and that is the type of team that is likely to do just that. They can't really afford this loss if they really want to make a serious run at the number 1 overall seed. So,
which I think they need.
Yeah.
I think that Eagles team is good, but I don't think they're as good as their record is leading. They've played a very cupcake schedule this year. And when you get into the playoffs, it's just like the fantasy playoffs. The cupcake teams are gone. They're no longer available for you to play. I think that team needs, if there's any team outside of the Dolphins who would need home field advantage throughout the playoffs, it's 100% the Eagles.
Now, there's one other thing to consider here, too, and that the Eagles have 3 games left, and they only need one more win to really lock in that 1 seed, if I remember right. Or maybe it's just because it's the Cowboys and it's a division game. But I mean, if they are somehow able to pull off the win against the Cowboys this week with Gardner Minshew at the helm, there's a good chance we may not see Jalen Hurts for the rest of the season so he can let that shoulder get right. An AC joint injury, just like we've had one of the doctors on earlier this season, they really highly suggest that they take about 2 to 3 weeks off, and that's exactly what he would get with that bye week if they set him on the shelf. So, guys, if you're in your fantasy playoffs and you've been leaning on Jalen Hurts this entire season, which most of you have if you have Jalen Hurts, you may be in some trouble here. You might really want to be hitting that waiver wire pretty hard here, or if it's in Dynasty, make that move, make that trade to get you a quarterback to get you through this fantasy playoff.
Yep. Okay. I think it all hinges on this week. If they win this week, we don't see him again. If they lose this week, we will see him again, probably week 17.
Which is why you need to try to make that move now in Dynasty.
Yep. 100% agree. Next is Damian Harris. He's got a thigh. He's missed 2 games with a thigh issue, but typically these injuries are between 3 and 4 weeks. He had a decent shot to play week 15, so he's a priority add if somehow on waivers given Ramondre Stevenson's status. The update on this is he appears to be a game-time decision this week. So there is a possibility Harris plays. If he does, I honestly think it will – well, I know for a fact it will hurt Ramondre Stevenson. I think we'll go back to seeing a full-blown committee between those two versus where we've seen without Harris, Ramondre Stevenson just dominating all the snaps.
Yeah, I mean there is still that slight chance that he's coming off of the injury, so maybe they underutilize him a little bit and kind of tried to let him work back in it a little bit if he's not quite 100%. But you got to believe that if he's not quite 100%, they've got enough running backs in that stable that he wouldn't play. So I am leaning towards agreeing with you on that there would be more of a split. But
Yep.
you still got to start Ramondre if you have him. You have to start Damian if he plays, and you just have to hope for the best whichever way you go.
Yeah, we've seen the Patriots are not leaning on Crap Jones. They're just Crap Jones is just not, he's not getting it done, and they're not leaning on him to be able to win them games. They want to run the ball and play defense.
So has his name now become Crap Macaroni and Cheese instead of Crap?
No, I'm just gonna go with Crap Jones from now on. I mean, I've been saying he's been crap since they drafted him. So
no, I understand. But I was just trying to make a really bad dad joke that obviously didn't hit. So let's move on.
I got the Crap Macaroni and Cheese. I got that. It was good. It was good. I'm going with Crap Jones. It's too much of a mouthful. Next is this guy, one of my favorite players in the NFL, to be honest, Deontay Johnson. He's got a toe injury. He's been killing me this year because I was heavily invested in Deontay Johnson. A whole bunch of updates on here. Basically, he was limited in practice for 2 days in a row, or unable to practice for 2 days in a row after a limited session on Wednesday. He's trending in the right, not trending in the right direction. It's even going to be hard to trust in this offense. The update Justin put in there during practice Thursday, Deontay Johnson appeared on the injury report due to a toe injury. He was limited Tuesday and a non-participant both Wednesday and Thursday. But according to Johnson himself, he will take the field on Saturday night when the Steelers take on the Raiders. So if you ask Deontay Johnson, he's playing. Even though he's got the toe injury, I'm not sure how much you're really going to be relying on him. I know there are some leagues I am 100% relying on him, but if you have a better option, I would roll it out. My only other option is Gabe Davis. He's too inconsistent. The weather in Chicago is going to play a factor in that game where I don't want to really trust an inconsistent wide receiver in a bad weather condition game. So I'm going to go with Deontay Johnson. But if you have better options, go ahead and start them.
I tell you what, George, we've got a theme going tonight. We just keep disagreeing right and left. For Deontay Johnson, like I'm a math guy, right? So I try to look at the numbers. He's one of the most heavily targeted wide receivers in the league, and yet he has 0 touchdowns. That positive regression is about to hit, and I got to feel like if he was a limited participant on Tuesday, did not practice Wednesday and Thursday, but he's this confident that he's playing, it's just because they're resting it up. The whole veteran move, dude doesn't need to practice to play, and that positive regression is bound to hit him eventually. If he's out there getting those targets like crazy, especially against this Raiders defense, it's already not that great. I got a strong feeling that we're going to finally see that first touchdown. So for those leagues where you're forced to start him, like you were saying, I feel like you're going to be happy with the results this week.
I hope to be wrong, and I don't say this very often. I truly hope to be wrong. The problem is and you're 100% correct. He is getting a ton of targets. The problem is the targets are coming from Kenny Pickett most of the time, and well, need I say more? Yeah, I would feel honestly, and I joke a lot about Mitch Trubisky. That's something I just do.
You know who that helps though? The fact that it's Kenny Pickett is this guy right here, Pat Freiermuth. So yep. Bobby Trees is asking about Noah Fant or Pat Freiermuth. I feel like Freiermuth has more opportunity, and both of them are kind of touchdown dependent, but one of them gets a little bit more opportunity than the other. I'm going to lean towards Freiermuth on this one. I'm not starting Noah Fant in this situation.
And I agree with you on that one. But back to Deontay real quick. The problem is if it was Gardner or not Gardner, even if it was Gardner Minshew throwing the ball, I'd be happy. But it's Kenny Pickett throwing the ball. It's not Mitch Trubisky. The targets are a lot better targets coming from Trubisky than they are from Kenny Pickett. That's the problem.
That's fair. That's fair. And I'm sure that Bobby Trees would agree with you on that as well. We know Bobby pretty well.
Yeah. Yes, we
let's
do.
See. Kenneth Walker.
I'll let you get all these Kenneth Walker updates out the way. I'm just going to hit the mute button, sit back, and relax. You go ahead and read all that.
Well, I don't do that, though. I don't understand why you do all that. So I just come right out and I just say, he was ruled out in week 13, and then there was a bunch of injury updates with the ankle. I don't understand why we need all the updates. All I know is that the most recent update we have is that Pete Carroll says that Walker will play. Monitor the inactive very, very closely, or the inactives list very, very closely. Regardless, consider other similar options if available. But Pete Carroll's saying that Kenneth Walker is going to play. So if he shows that he's active and he's playing, in my mind, I feel like you need to start him. So he's still a very talented young running back, and that's how you save time and keep it under 30 minutes, my man.
And the matchup is and you know, matchups are good, matchups are bad. Good matchups can be bad matchups can be fantastic. I get all that, but man, the matchup is just so tasty with going against the Kansas City Chiefs, who are a bad run defense. So if Kenneth Walker is out there, start him if you got him.
Which is also why you want to start Jason Myers this week, kicker
yes.
for Seattle. Let's see, what else do we got? We got Devin Duvernay with the foot injury here. So I was saying Duvernay, foot injury. All right, so Ravens standout wide receiver and returner Devin Duvernay suffered a broken bone in his foot in practice yesterday. A source said explaining his placement on season-ending injured reserve. I mean, it's this late in the season. It's a fracture in the foot. He's not coming back from that this season. He faces a recovery time of about 2 months, so he should make a full recovery for next season. Those of you that are in leagues where you count return yards, you've probably been sneakily playing Devin Duvernay every week and enjoying it. So because I know I have in one of my leagues where they count return yards. So this one does kind of hit hard. It makes me want to kind of look through the reports and see who the next man up is on the return game for them. Possibly take a flyer on them, but at this point, being in the playoffs, you don't know if you can take that chance. But yeah, definitely a big hit here for Devin Duvernay.
Do you know who the Ravens signed to replace Devin Duvernay?
I know earlier in the season it was Deshaun Jackson, but
but they signed somebody.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was. He's back from
Watkins, baby.
From the Packers. What's that?
Sammy Watkins, baby.
Yeah, Sammy Watkins. That's right, from the Packers. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so the Packers finally are getting healthy wide receivers all the way across the board and realize just how badly they do not need Sammy Watkins.
Or no, never mind. I'm not going to say that. I'll just move on. Here, I'll show you how you save time, Justin, and get out of here in under 30 minutes. Okay. Ryan Tannehill is out. Chris Olave is out. Neither one of them is playing, so don't worry about putting him in your lineup. See how easy that was? Look, I just took care of the next two.
There you go. And then Nick Chubb with the foot injury is not on the final report, so he will play Saturday against New Orleans.
Yeah, and I put this one on there just because he's been on the injury report all week, and
it's a big name.
It's a big name, and B, with the weather conditions that they're expecting in Cleveland this weekend, expect a lot of running game. Like they're talking sustained winds at 25 miles an hour. So I expect a lot of running the ball. Cleveland wants to run the ball anyway, and with Nick Chubb being a big name, it just made sense to be put on this list. So that is. Justin, I did not update the expected return dates for these guys for this week.
This is an easy one for both of us.
Oh, wow.
You want to say it at the same time? One, two, three.
Taysom Hill.
All right. It wasn't exactly the same time. But we're the two on the show on the network that are all about Taysom. You got to start him. I don't care if you do get a 3-point game out of him from time to time. The opportunity for that 20-point game out of that tight end position is just it's too great to pass up, especially now.
Also, the weather in this game is going to be a factor. They're not going to be throwing the ball that much because it's going to have 25 mile per hour sustained winds.
That's fair.
What does Taysom Hill do really well? He runs the frickin' ball.
And since Mark Ingram has been out, Taysom Hill's has had an uptick in rushing attempts as well.
Yep. And what does the Cleveland Browns not do very well?
Everything.
They don't defend the run very well. This is an easy one, man. Go with Taysom Hill here. his rushing floor alone is you're talking about 6 to 7 points.
Yeah.
And if he punches one in for a touchdown, you got to do the dance.
All right, George. I think we're ready to call this one. What do you think?
Yeah, dude, it's the eve of Christmas Eve. I do want to say, and I'm springing this on Justin. He doesn't know this. I have really enjoyed doing these TGIF shows with Justin this year. This is probably going to be the last one for the year. I don't think we need to do one on the championship weekend.
I agree.
At that point, it's only going to be 2 people battling over waivers for the most part. So there's no real reason for us to do a deep dive in injuries for next week. So I want to thank everybody personally from that has joined us on these Fridays for TGIF. It's been a blast. We're going to bring this show back again next year. Hopefully next year we'll have a little bit more guest involvement. That was the goal this year. Personally, I dropped the ball. We only had a couple of guests this year. I wanted to get at least 4 or 5 for the entire series throughout the throughout the time we've been doing this, but I've been so freaking busy. It's been ridiculous. But I do appreciate everybody who's tuned in week in and week out. I appreciate all the comments. Justin, I honestly appreciate you and all the work and effort you've put into this, getting it ready, helping with the notes, filling in for the weeks that I can't do it, and whatnot. I honestly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, man. I've had a lot of fun with this one. It honestly, this is one of those few things where it's a simple show. It's a simple concept, right? Yep. You talk about injured players and you maybe give some suggestions on what to do about it. And that's it. Like there's nothing else to it. So all it is just a couple of buddies sitting down talking about fantasy football. So it has been a fun show. Bobby, we appreciate you as well. Thanks for chiming in this evening. And to all of our Patreon supporters and all of our other viewers and supporters, again, greatly appreciate your support. You can continue to support us by checking out the affiliates on toiletstitles.com. Also, leave a comment. If you're watching this later, leave a comment in the comment section. We'll go back and watch it later. If you have a list of other ideas for other affiliates, right now we got fanatics.com, we got amazon.com. So if you're going to buy anything from those websites, just go through toiletstitles.com first. Purchase what you want to purchase, and then but leave us a comment in the comment section of other affiliates you'd like to see us try to get, and Nate and I will be on it and trying to make that happen for you.
That Amazon affiliate honestly is huge, because I just found out that we're an Amazon affiliate now, and I'm gonna have to let my wife know to go through the website every time she orders something. The same thing with my daughter, and this way we can help our relationship with Amazon. So that is something that should, like, everybody uses Amazon. It just takes 2 seconds to help us out as well. So why not do it? You kill 2 birds with 1 stone and give us a little help us out a little bit, and you still get your Amazon stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
So.
All right, man. Sounds great. You and your family have a very Merry Christmas, and appreciate all you do for the show, and I'm sure that that'll continue into the off season as well.
Yep. Thank you, Justin. And Merry Christmas to you, your wife, and yours as well. I'm sure we'll talk again between now and Sunday, but just want to
Right on. Have a great holiday, everybody.